We are going to deal with match the heading. Here we are. See, is what destroyed the civilization of Easter Islands. First of all, let me guide you how you would handle the reading. Is you should read the title first, and after you read the title, you should develop some kind of interest on it. So we see the title, what destroyed the civilization of Easter Island. Think of what could destroy the civilization. Maybe there was a war or kind of natural calamities. What happened? Think from your side. And with those kind of interest, read your first paragraph. Read everything of first paragraph. Try to understand it. Once you understand it, then it gives you some answer to the questions of the title. At least it will link you and you can memorize what you have read. And with this first paragraph, what you should do is now you should attack this kind of question, match the heading. For the match the heading, the workable idea from Pylon Academy, what we suggest is do not read list of headings. What we suggest is read first paragraph, read everything you need to understand it. Based upon your understanding, what you should do now is choose a heading from here. Okay. So now let's go through this first paragraph. What does it say? I am going to zoom it. So Easter Island, or Rapunai as it is known locally, is a home to several hundred ancient human statues. The human statues means Maui. Okay, so there is it's a place, several hundred ancient human statues are situated over there, and statues are called the Maui. After this remote Pacific island was settled by Polynesian, it remained isolated for centuries. All the energy and resources that went into the Maui, some of which are 10 meters tall and weigh over 7,000 kilos, came from the island itself. Means there are statues, huge statues, kind of 7,000 kilos and also like 10 meters of high. So these kind of huge massive structures came from the island itself. So yet when Dutch explorers landed in 1722, they met a Stone Age culture. The Maui were carved with stone tools, then transported for many kilometers without the use of animals or wheels to massive stone platforms. So first we went with the bigger structure, then their transportations without the help of animals or the wheels or any tools. So the identity of the Maui builders was in doubt until well into the 20th century. So identity of the Maui builders means who made those kind of massive structure, it was very doubtful. So Thor Heyerdahl, the Norwegian ethnographer and adventurer, thought the statues had been created by pre-Inca people from Peru. Okay. So next, best-selling Swiss author Heinrich von Däniken believed they were built by stranded extraterrestrials. So means who made it? It was in doubt, and we just see the first view. So it was so what Thor Heyerdahl believed is statue had been created by pre-Inca people. First view, and next view is so they were built by the extraterrestrials. Modern science, linguistic, archaeological, and genetic evidence has definitely proved the Maui builders were Polynesians, but not how they moved their creations. Okay, so we just had two opposing ideas just before. Statues, who made the statues? First thing is by pre-Inca people, and next thing is by the extraterrestrial, and here the next thing is modern science is opposing. So the proofs has told that it is made by Polynesians, but not how they were moved. And local folklore maintains that the statues walked, while researchers have tended to assume the ancestor dragged the statues, somehow using the ropes and logs. So here is also contrasting sentence. Local people maintains the statues walked. It means local people believe that statues itself walked, while the researchers have assumed that the ancestor, the local people, dragged the statues somehow using ropes or log. They assume it. So this is the idea from the passage. So what you should do is once you go through this one, you should understand understand what you have just read. So what was the information given? First thing is it's telling about the place, right? In that place there is lots of statues which are also called about Maui. The place name is Easter Island or Rapunai. Next thing is the statues are huge, and after statues are huge, we got that when Dutch explorer landed, so they made stone age sculptures. So Maui were carved with stone tools, transported for many kilometers without the use of animals or the wheels. And means the transportations were kind of interesting thing over here, and identity was in doubt, and we just saw two of the opposing identities that Norwegian person believed that it was made by pre-Inca people, and next is it is made by stranded extraterrestrial, but modern science opposes that it was made by Polynesians. And but still there is a question remaining that about the transportations. Furthermore, one information is there: local people believe it moved itself, the statues moved itself. However, the science assumes, like it has not been yet proved, that they believe maybe the statues were dragged using ropes or the logs. So these are the information that you can extract from the first paragraph. And based upon your understanding, so go through these all of the headings. So let's see the first heading: evidence of innovative environment management practice. So we do not see any environment practice over here. We just saw like the statues were huge, and there are issues about the transportations, and also like who made it. This kind of information were there, and we got none of the information matching with the environment management practice. So this is how you deal with this kind of question. Second, an undisputed answer to a question about Maui. So is there any undisputed answer? Means, is there any questions first about the Maui? Is there any information about the statue? Of course, if we think about the Maui, the information that we see over here, where first thing about the huge weight and its height, is there question? No. Later on, we also like something about the Maui. We got the information over here. So its identity was in doubt, and we had two of the opposing ideas, and the science was giving the proof that it was made by the Polynesian. This information, starting from here to modern science definitely prove the Polynesians. Okay, this much of information you can pause the video and again reread it. So this information matches with the second. So there is no dispute to the answer to the question about Maui. Of course, there was dispute. We just got like the sentence suggests, so were in doubt, and we had two of the opposing ideas. Means disputes were there, and again like disputes was solved as because of the science that has proved. Okay, so we can choose now paragraph A as the second. So I'm going to choose first paragraph answer as the second. Now what you're going to do is you're not going to read further. It's better, like, of course you go with other options, but still it does not it would be difficult for you to retain the information. We found the answer, now we jump with the paragraph B. For this paragraph B, now you're not going to read everything, but you are just going to read first line and the last line. So just based on that you are going to decide which option would match. So let's see the first line. When the Europeans arrived, Rapunai was grassland with only a few scrawny trees. What information would it suggest? When Europeans arrived, so it was grassland with only few scrawny trees, means there were like kind of dead trees, and it was all grassland. No trees were there. And what about the last line? The collapse of the isolated civilization, Diamond writes, is a worst case scenario for what may lie ahead of us in our own future. So it's a opinion of the author. So what he thinks is, so collapse of the isolated island. So what the writer writes is that this is the worst case scenario for what may lie ahead of us in our own future. So in the future, we could also be having problem because of the worst case scenario. So the something that there is a damage, there is a collapse, and this collapse is also danger to our own future. So based on this, let's see. So environment management practice, we see there is just a grassland, so stony trees, that does not suggest there is environment, and we already chose the second one. The future of Maui statues, yeah, there was a word future, but do not choose any option based upon the word you see here and you see here, right? It's, you have to understand what the line is saying. So it's saying our own future, and it's saying the future of the Maui statues. So this paragraph, the first line and last line, does not suggest any information about the statues and its future. So a theory which supports local belief. So also, so there is nothing that we could go with this one. So there is no theory. Theory means a kind of principle, and that would support the local people. So we have not seen any kind of local people thing. And the future of Easter Island, of course, same like Easter Island future, that also we do not get over here. So it's not talking about the Easter Island future, neither the future of the Maui. And two opposing views about the Rapunai people. Yet we have not been with the people. So it's saying about the environment that is in the condition of the what damaged state, and this collapse is very dangerous to our future. So destruction outside the inhabitants' control. We do not see the content of the local people inhabitants, but like destruction, of course, as like when European arrived, there were only the grassland with a few trees, and also like its destruction is a very dangerous thing to our future. Then destruction would little match. Let's see then, like we go with the, we read further how the statues made the situation worse. Now we can't pick that up. Diminishing food resources. So trees and the collapse, food resources getting down, we can choose it. So the close option would be destruction outside the inhabitants control. So I'm going to choose paragraph B as the 7. Now in the same way we're going to go do with the paragraph C. So in this paragraph C, the Maui, he thinks, accelerated the self-destruction. We just read up something information about a related topic. So how the statues made a situation worse, and he thinks accelerated the self-destruction. What? The Maui. So means it's matching. You just choose, okay, without reading everything. So paragraph C, the meaning is matching with it. And we have paragraph D over here. So in the paragraph D, archaeologist Terry Hunt of University of Hawaii and Carl Lippo of California State University agree that Easter Island lost its lush forest and that it was an ecological catastrophe. But they believe the islanders themselves weren't to blame. Here, so it's a little bit longer sentence. What you should care about is this is the noun, and these two people from wherever they are, they agree. What do they agree is Easter Island lost its lush forest. So they believe, they agree that the island lost its forest and that it was ecological catastrophe. So it was environmental big damage and destruction, but they believe the islanders themselves weren't to blame. So what the information that we get over here is two of the people from the two different institutions believe that so the island lost its the forest and it was a big destruction, but there is no role of the people to blame for. And last sentence in short, so again they argue, means they put their point, prehistoric Rapunai were pioneers of sustainable farming. So they were the first people of sustainable farming. Okay, so the destructions, we should not blame the people as per this one, and also they were the better person for the farming, sustainable farming. What it suggests is, so they were the good person and they also like were pioneers of sustainable farming, means they could farm very sustainably, and farming sustainably also suggests that with these options environment management practice. So it's saying evidence of innovative and to find the evidence of innovative, you might read further inside, but at least this line suggests with the first option. So even without reading also, this meaning can be comprehended as the first option. Okay, so I'm choosing D as the first one. So it's just there. And let's go with the E. With this paragraph E, Hunt and Lipo contain that the Maui builders was an activity that helped keep the peace between islanders. So building Maui was something, the peace activity. And the last one, the figure's fat bellies tilted them forward and a D-shaped base allowed its handlers to roll and rock them side to side. Okay, so what we see over here is saying something about the transportations. So the D-shaped base allowed handlers to rock and roll them side to side, means they could carry. And here what it says is it's a like peaceful activity. And if we see these options, none of the information from here suggests about transportation or the people's the Maui building is making the peace within the people. What you should do at this time, you should read inside. Okay, most of the answers you can just get by first and last line. If you did not get, the option would be to read inside. So then we are going to read as there is no option. They also believe that moving the Maui required few people and no wood because they were walked upright. On that issue, Hunt and Lipo say archaeological evidence backs up Rapunai folklore. Okay, so here is a line very indirectly, very indirectly it is saying that, so Hunt and Lipo say archaeological evidence. Archaeological evidence means like it's the science proof backs up, means supports Rapunai folklore, means people. And the option that we see over here, so something about the options. So let's see the future of a theory which supports a local belief. So a local belief, and the line that we just saw where so Rapunai folklore, it is backing the people, and that's the local belief. So what? A theory. Theory is what? Archaeological evidence. So means a theory backs, a theory is supported with the local people. So this is how you choose, and this is very indirect. So like this line, the meaning, and like this line meaning is very indirect. If you can understand what both sentences mean, then you could choose. So this kind of things would be there for the match the heading. So now we are going to choose for the paragraph E, a theory which supports local belief. That's the 4. So E, IV, and with the F. So moreover, Hunt and Lipo are convinced that the settlers were not wholly responsible for the loss of island's tree. So this is something like the previous message. So they were not wholly responsible for loss of the island's tree, means they were partially responsible, and they were not to blame, like we just like saw, that's like from the paragraph D. And here what we see is they were not wholly responsible. Let's see the last one. Then in the 19th century, slave traders decimated the population, which traveled to 111 people by 1877. What does it suggest? So also like it's a kind of destruction and the population has reduced. So there should be something to happen. And if we see the options, what would you go with one? If the population is reducing, then of course the destruction. But we chose this 7 number option with paragraph B, and this cannot happen that the 2 of the paragraph has the same options. So for now, as it is close, I'm going to choose 7. But what has happened just now is we chose paragraph B as 7 and F as 7. We do have 14 to 20, so we have 7 options, 7 questions, and then like the 9 options. At this case, of course, the option would not be repeated. If option would be repeated, you would get the notice over here. Some answer would be used for multiple times with the kind of NB. So let's get with the last paragraph. We'll review that B and kind of BF in shortly. So here with the last paragraph, Hunt and Lipo's vision therefore is one of the islands populated by peaceful and ingenious Maui builders and careful stewards of the land, rather than by reckless destroyers ruining their own environment and society. So next sentence, rather than a case of abject failure, Rapunai is an unlikely story of success, they claim. Okay, whichever is the case, there are surely some valuable lessons which the world at large can learn from the story of Rapunai. So first paragraph and the last paragraph we are going to read everything. Okay, so based upon this, just we just got like two of the ideas. So the first idea is populated by peaceful and ingenious Maui builders and careful stewards of the land rather than by reckless destroyers ruining their own environment. And also, like we have, rather than a case of abject failure, Rapunai is an unlikely story of success. So we do have like two claims over here, and both sentences there are opposing ideas, which would make us to choose two opposing views about Rapunai people. Okay, so G, we are going with the 6. So what we should do further is we should now solve the problem with this paragraph B and F. Let's go with paragraph B and put the option down over here. As we read out the first line and the last line, we chose with the destruction because there were grasslands, and also like it's a worst case scenario. And if we go through this one, in the 1970s and 1980s, though researchers found pollen preserved in the lake sediments, which proved the island had been covered in lush palm forest for thousands of years. Only after the Polynesians arrived did those forests disappear. US scientist Jared Diamond believes that the Rapunai people, descendants of Polynesian settlers, wrecked their own environment. They had unfortunately settled on an extremely fragile island, dry, cool, too remote to be properly fertilized by wind-blown volcanic ash. When the islanders cleared the forest for firewood farming, the forest didn't grow back. Trees became scarce and they could no longer construct wooden canoes for fishing, they ate birds. Soil erosion decreased their crop yields. Before Europeans arrived, Rapunai has descended into civil war and cannibalism, he maintains, and this like the damage. Okay, what we get over here is they had like the place was very not good, right? And dry, cool, remote. And when the islanders cleared the forest for the farming, the forest didn't grow back. Trees became scarce, and they could not build the boats for the fishing, and they started eating birds. And after they started eating birds, soil erosion also like made the problem. And before European arrived, so they had descended into civil war. So first, they wanted to have the land in the forest. They cleared the land, and after they cleared the land, they could not build the boat because there were no woods, and they started eating birds. And after even the like eating birds, the crop yields also is getting like what not good, and finally they were in the civil war. It means like, of course, diminishing the food resources, right? So now we are going to choose IX for that, number 9. And for the paragraph F, moreover, Hunt and Lipo convinced like settlers were not wholly responsible, means they were partially responsible. Archaeological finds of the nuts from the extinct Easter Island palms show tiny groups made by teeth of Polynesian rats. The rats arrived along with the settlers, and in just few years, Hunt and Lipo calculate they would have overrun the island. They would have prevented the reseeding of the slow growing palm trees and thereby doomed Rapunai's forest, even without the settlers' campaign of deforestation. No doubt the rats ate birds' eggs too. Hunt and Lipo also see no evidence that Rapunai civilization collapsed when the palm forest did. They think its population grew rapidly and then remained more or less stable until the arrival of Europeans who introduced deadly disease to which islanders had no immunity. And this is like the population has decreased. So these all are the situation getting harassed, difficult, right? And later on, what we see over here is when Europeans arrived and they brought a disease where islanders had no immunity. and destruction outside the inhabitants control. If they do if they do not have the if they did not have the immunity, then so destruction outside inhabitants control, right? So means local people didn't have control over the poisons that they were poisoned to. So this would suggest with the 7 number, which we are not going to change. Okay, so what you can see from this analysis is, for the matching headings, you should read the first paragraph, everything, understand it. Before you read, even like you should read the title, develop interest on it, and based upon your understanding, you have to choose one option. That should be 100% right, because you read, you understand, and choose. Same goes for the last paragraph, right? And for most of the questions, just first line and last line would work. There are also questions where you have to read inside. So we just saw two of the cases. One, so like same paragraph matching to two of the options. Next, so you read the first line and last line and you have no clue, no ideas to jump in. At that case, you should go inside. So this is the way that you should do. And this matching question could come a bit in a different variations. Sometimes this option would be less than the questions, where one of the idea has to be removed or repeated. One of the ideas has to be repeated. Okay, so at that time, even n b, you may use one options more would be written over there. If there are options more, then of course like two of the options in this case would be not used. So this is how you handle the matching heading questions. Okay, now with book 11 and book 12, at least with the two books. Okay, so at least with the two books, what you should do is you should practice similar type of questions to get more out of it. Okay, and do this, keep doing these things for even other questions. Having said this one, we end this session. Have a great day.